So we've got two bikes here, they're both 450cc. One is a fully pledged rally bike and the other one is an enduro bike with a bigger fuel tank on them. Because of the distance, we have to do 250 kilometers to arrive at the fuel stop. We've got much more fuel capacity, and on these ones we've got split tanks, so both of these are fuel tanks, and also on the rear here we've got fuel tanks as well. And back to the fuel, the nice one on these bikes is we can actually empty the rear tanks before we go to the fuel tanks, just to balance the bike out a little bit more. Really clever idea, makes the bikes more stable as we're riding, to unload the back and just go back to like a more conventional bike with the front. And another really big pointer on these bikes, the swinging arm is actually longer compared to an enduro bike, to make them a little bit more stable at speed, and it does help do that. So moving to the front, we've got all our rally stuff here bolted onto this nice carbon fibre post. Here we have our road book, where like our road book sits into here, worked off a button off of here, so as we press this it starts to scroll the road book around to allow us to navigate our way from it. Trip here, ICO again wants to correspond with our road book, so it's important that they're both situated together so that we can watch them. Moving down the bike a little bit, and again this is a big part of this is to get the weight to the bottom. We have to carry 3 litres of survivor water, which is a really important thing to carry. So on this particular bike it's built into the sump guard at the bottom, and every morning before we leave they are very strict on checking it to make sure we've got the 3 litres of water aboard. So on this one we fill it up here, and it's got a nice little tap out the back to drain it out. Hopefully it's the same water at the end of the rally as we put it at the start. Not a thing we want to look forward to having to use really, but a real, well, you wouldn't go through. A big part of Scooter is to make sure we've got 3 litres of survival water with us. Other thing with rally bikes, it is important that we run definitely a fan, and on these particular ones they run a bigger radiator, because obviously when we're out in the temperatures or we're working in surroundings as we are now, the bikes are working quite hard, so we need to keep them cool. As you can see on this bike against an enduro bike, it's definitely got a lot more water carrying capacity to help keep the bikes cooler, and a fan is a must. Always, again at night, I'd make sure the fan's not broken and it works, because as the bikes start to work we don't want them boiling. Another really important part of rally bikes is the lights. You know, some days we do get caught out at night, or the stage is a little bit longer, so we need the lights. So it's really important that we have really good quality lights on, so when we do arrive at that, to bring it to us in a little bit easier kind of way. And especially these kind of style lights are really good. We've got 3 options of lights there, with a really nice intent little light at the bottom to allow us to carry on. I would probably say that is a really big part of our rally package. And a head torch, you know, again, so when we move around we can kind of look for the lines still, even in the dark, with the torch on top of our helmet. And for me, again personally, I was very lucky to be told a really nice little one is I could actually get off my bike and walk around it. So if we do have a mechanical or a breakdown at night, we still need to be able to fix it. So my head torch was on my crasher, and the lead was long enough I could walk right round my bike and use it as a torch to repair it. And again, a really useful little tip that I got told before I set off on my journey, and it certainly played a big part in the rally. A few nights I had to stop and get my bearings, and the head torch I could just step off and wander around her. When we arrive at the start, we get given a 50 kilo tin to load up to take across the journey with us. We decide what we want to put in it, whether we want to put a tent or put the spares, that kind of thing. And again, for me, it turned into quite a meaningful journey in 2006, as you can see written on the lid. That year I had to wave goodbye to my mechanic and head off to Africa, and I opened the tin on the first stage and sat about looking at what he'd wrote on it, and every day that kind of kept me smiling and helped bring the rally to me. Brought a nice smile to me, and every morning I'd kind of open up the tin, put my bits away so they could load it up and take it on a journey, and I'm sure that helped get me to the finish that year. It was such a meaningful, nice gesture, and it brought a nice kind of sense of smile to the whole kind of journey for me. We can see the tin with the spares in it. So this is the important bit of the tin. We've thrown away the tent and we've decided to load up with bits that are quite important to us throughout the journey. We have spare air filters, chains, sprockets, and that's kind of the tin maxed out at that. That's the 50 kilo tin full, so it's really important what we go through to put in it. And also including an entry fee, we get the luxury of a set of wheels to come on the journey with us. Always nice to set off with your wheels, new tyres on them, ready to go. So when you arrive at the end of the stage, you could walk to the truck, get the tin, collect your wheels and put those ones in, send your tyres away, send your wheels away to have the new tyres fitted. And that was a really important part of the rally. Get organised as soon as you fitted one set of wheels, take the others to Euromaster, and they would set about putting new tyres for you for the next day to save a little bit of kind of panic that evening. Just to see a little bit more what we're actually important to put in our tin, and a few little bits that I'll go through with you. A really classic one is the air filter. Obviously when we're riding in conditions such as this, in the sand, the air filter is a really important part of preparation. So on all rally bikes we have the luxury of having a pre-filter which fits over the top of your filter, and for me I'd carry 2 or 3 throughout my days. When I arrived at the fuel stop I would just quickly take the air filter out, take the filter skin off, replace it with a clean one, put the dirty one in my pocket, and it really is a big part of the rally because it keeps the filter clean underneath, especially, you know, as we get stuck in traffic with the amount of dust that we get. It's so easy to get drawn into that, so the filter's a really big part to look after. Especially now, most bikes are fuel injection, and we can't always guarantee, especially in this kind of racing environment, the fuel is always the best or even the cleanest. So another good part that is really important to carry, and I would kind of have a couple of these in my pocket. I know they're little things, but these are the filters before the fuel injection, and it's really important that you know, we've got a couple of these with us because it's so easy to get drawn into a little bit of dirt in the fuel, and it starts to cause that. So me, I'd always carry a few little filters along the way. If the bike starts to do that, I've got an opportunity to save it with just a little thing like this, take it out, replace it with a clean one, and hopefully we can carry on our way again. And obviously again, we need tools, so when we arrive in the evening, it's nice having the spares, but we actually need some tools to start setting about the bike to fix them. And again, a really good little pointer with that is, you know, go through the bike and make sure you take the tools. Me, I'd always tape them up in colours, so I knew the 12, 13mm and the important spanners were a little bit easier to identify at the end of a day. As we start to get tired, we need to make it a little bit easier for ourselves, and tools is an important one. And other good one, as you can see here, where we sat in the sand, keep them tidy, otherwise we end up burying them, get a little bit frustrated because we can't find the tools that we need to fix the job with. So again, the spares is a really big part of it, understanding what spares we want in it, because that is the survival of our rally really in that 50 kilo tin. So just go through a little bit more important side of the spares that we should be loading into our box as we head away. Again, oil filters is a really important one. For me, I would change the oil and oil filter every day, so we want to make sure that we've got a minimum of 15, 16 oil filters, so every time we go to the box we can drop the oil and replace it with an oil filter, so we're going through it. And again, brake pads, not probably so prominent as we'd probably imagine, to be fair, especially if the sand stays dry, but it's always nice to have a couple of sets of brake pads, front and rear, so when we do need them we can go to the tin and find we've actually packed them in there. So front and rear brake pads for sure. And again, levers, a real kind of obvious one, but a really useful one to carry, and not just in your tin. I would always make sure in my bum bag or strapped to my bike somewhere I'd got a spare clutch lever and brake lever, so if we have one of them moments we can just kind of not stress too much, get it replaced and carry on our way. So that's an important one. And again, quite a few people, I've used these myself, for put on the handlebar grips to stop the blisters, because we're on the bike for so long. It's kind of nice to make it a little bit more comfier. I'd always have a spare set of these in my box just to make sure if I wanted to change them. So in a tin we also want to make sure we've got a spare chain and front and rear sprocket, so that just in case we do need to change them, they're in a tin, so when we open there we can get them fitted to the bike. Another really important thing that we should be looking to carry extra is a few split links. You know, they're no good in this tin when we're out riding along on a bike. I'd always make sure I'd got a few links of chain to put in my tool bag and a few spare split links just in case, if you know we break a chain, we're an opportunity to kind of repair it and carry it away. And a chain splitter is also a good one. It is quite easy to do a chain. If we've got an opportunity to kind of carry a few bits, make sure in our bag to cover that when we get there. Another nice little bit that, you know, we don't need to carry but it's quite nice to have in our tin is a front and rear disc. Quite easy to catch if we have one of them moments. You know, we can kick it straight out on the trail, but when we get in the evening, quite nice to have one in the box that we can get bolted onto the bike for the following day. And even down to little things like spokes. It is quite easy to take a spoke out, so again, if they're in a box, it takes away a little bit of stress when we arrive at the evening. We can just go to the bag, whip the tyre off, get the spokes fitted, and that kind of thing. This box is your lifeline in the rally really. The more we've got in here, the right stuff, the rally will start to come to us Obviously it's quite important that we've gone through the tools, so when we do find ourselves needing to use them, we've kind of made sure that they're going to fit the bike that we've got to get sorted out. Quite a nice little one that KTM have come up with here. I really like this. Tyre lever also doubles up as a front and rear wheel nut spanner. Clever idea, kind of, I like that one. And again, personally, whatever bike I was riding, I'd make sure I carry the tool bag equivalent to that bike. So we should be familiarising ourselves with the tools before we head away, stop out, do some training with them, make sure we've got the right spanners to allow us to repair it. And again, a really nice little one is, we want to be taking small spanners. It's much easier to carry on a journey rather than something we can't fit in our own personal bag. And of course we all familiarise ourselves with this stuff very well. A little bit of duct tape, I'd wrap it around the tyre lever to make sure I'd got it there, and always carry duct tape, probably the first thing you go for sometimes. And we shouldn't leave these out either. These are the most useful things in our bag. Cable ties, we can normally find ourselves using them throughout the rally to repair a few of them bits when we've had one of their moments along the way. And again, a nice little one to have in your personal belongings is a nice little energy bar, so when we arrive at the fuel stop where we've got a little bit to eat to allow us to carry on a little bit comfier. And another little classic one that I always used to carry, a little bit of tape. If we start to blister, we've got an opportunity to put a bit of tape round us to kind of lessen the pain a little bit, to get on under our way. And when we arrive at a fuel stop, we've kind of got 15 minutes to sort it out, so time is a little bit against us. We need to make sure our tools are organised, we've got those bits at hand, easy to find, so we don't tick them 15 minutes along, or after that we get penalised.